Hello BookTube. Well, it's been another 2 weeks since my last video. It looks like life is conspiring against keeping me consistent in video making. I also can't say that this wrap-up is going to be as large as the last one was, as life is still conspiring in more than one way. Not only did we have extra training seminars at work and fundraising things going on, but I also had family come and visit from the waters of Australia for the first time in a couple of years, and I am led to believe that apparently it's the height of rudeness to lock yourself up in your room and read in solitude when such occasions happen. So I did what was required. I sat and chatted and drank glühwein. It was cold. Anyway, let's get on with this book haul. This is the second time I'm filming this already tonight because my cat has walked through and flashed his bum, and currently he's down here, and let's just hope he stays there. My nice old man. He's 80 in human years, 17 in kitty cat years. But anyway, we're going to hopefully keep him down here. And yeah, I just want to get this over with and go to bed. It's past midnight already. First book up is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. This is the 6th Hercule Poirot novel. Murder happens on the blue train. Jewels are stolen. There are multiple suspects. Hercule Poirot happened to have been on the train. What more can you say but silly people? Oddly enough, I thought this was pretty drawn out for such a skinny book, although that could have been because my schedule multiplied and had children. But it had a solid plot. There were many red herrings, and I think lovers of crime novels would probably enjoy that. I think the other problem that I had, and it's not really a problem, it's just that the Hercule Poirot of my memory was, oh, he was larger than life, he was intimidating, he was this great super sleuth, and the adult me found Hercule Poirot in that book rather flat in comparison. The other thing I have to say is that all these generalizations about women and women's intelligence and women's actions drove me up the wall. I know it's a reflection of the time, but it was present in Sherlock Holmes as well. But man, as a modern day woman, it just really pees me off. Anyway, the next book is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's quite a pretty little thing, isn't it? Anyway, this book takes place in the imaginary town of Macondo. It was started by the Buendia family, and we're just going to call them Generation 1. Macondo is a utopia. There's been no death even in the town when we start there. And we watch as progress slowly but surely takes place. We have technology, capitalism, politics, banana republic, everything that starts happening. And I don't think you need to be much of an experienced reader to guess where it's going to go. Now, if there's one thing I could say, this book was blooming confusing, and it's not because of the language. It's because the Buendia family are the most unimaginative people going and keep renaming their children after themselves, which means that by the 7th generation, Aurelino could be anyone. I also have to add that being from South Africa, Spanish is not something that I encounter ever. If it had been an Isingxhosa name, it would have been something different. I've not heard these names before, people. It's like, how the hell do you even pronounce them, let alone remember them? But anyway, so everybody had the same name, and it was, well, all these people had similar names or the same names, and it got very confusing. But a part of me also thinks that that could have been the point of this. The story spirals, it cycles, it mirrors itself, and the past, the present, and the future, if you look at what the characters are doing, are pretty indistinguishable from one another. I think the simplest way to explain it is that history repeats itself. Now, I appreciated the layers and the themes in this, but I think that was purely because I've got that very expensive piece of paper that says BA degree, majors in English and philosophy. But even though I saw the layers, I saw the themes, I can't say that I really enjoyed this. It wasn't the style that I liked. I felt that the story was being told to me as opposed to living in it myself. But if you would like to give it a go, I will give you one very good piece of advice. Find a day that you are very, very not busy and read it in one sitting, because with all these names, you are going to get so confused if you are anything like me. The next book I read was Lonely Graves by Britta, which is our Britta Bowler on BookTube. She's the Britta part. In this story, a body is found in one of the canals, and the police think it is an accident, but Peter Posthumus, he can't explain why, but something doesn't feel right. Now, he is not a policeman. He works with on the funeral team, which is something apparently that they have, although there's a disclaimer that says it doesn't quite work this way. But yeah, he is there to give people, unnamed people, the funerals that are worthy, well, of anyone actually. And anyway, I've been enjoying foreign crime novels, and if my cat wasn't on my arm, I'd be doing air quotation marks, because foreign in this case means British and American. But I enjoy seeing the different perspective. I enjoy traveling around different countries and seeing what's happening there, and I enjoy the legal system that you, even though there are disclaimers saying that it's not quite accurate either. But anyway, because he wasn't a cop, it gave an interesting angle. The other thing is that you could see that this book was written by two authors, because there were two very distinct styles. The one was very choppy, fragmented, which worked well for the action, where you wanted things to move quickly, whereas the other style was a lot more fluid. There was a lot more description, so it actually made for a pleasant reading experience, because when you wanted the plot to move because the action is happening, it did. But when you wanted to, stop off and visit the Netherlands, it was nice too, because you could get the feel of it. But it wasn't bogged down with description, but it wasn't all choppy. I quite enjoyed it. I already have book 2, so we're going to see what happens with that one. The next book that I've got to show you is A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving. And in this story, it is narrated by John Wheelwright. And he is telling the story of his youth, his youth with his friend Owen Meany. Now, Owen Meany, and this isn't much of a spoiler because it happens really early on, is accidentally responsible for the death of John Wheelwright's mother. It was a freak accident in baseball. But Owen Meany is one hell of a character. Let me not get sidetracked. Let me stick to the notes that I've made. So to start off, I did feel that this was a bit unnecessarily long. That once again could be because of my schedule and wanting to get through books, because when you don't feel like you're making any progress for the day and you really need to go to bed, it gets a bit frustrating. I'm going to put this down, it weighs a ton. Anyway, the length though did make it feel extremely real, because I really spent a lot of time with these two boys. I found some scenes absolutely hilarious. Some of them were not. But some were, did I laugh? I cried laughing, which does not happen often. I also felt that the characters felt really real. And I'm not just talking about John and Owen. All the supporting characters actually felt real. There was no point where something was just, somebody was just constructed for the sake of the plot. I enjoyed the multiple layers. I enjoyed how all the things connected, but I am not going to be a fair judge on any book with religious themes, I'm afraid. I could understand the themes of faith and doubt, but whether the analogy was actually effective, I'm not the audience to say. But it really was a well-written book, but you need to make sure that you've got a fair amount of time on your hands if you want to give it a go. The last book that I'm going to be talking about is Whiskey Tango Foxtrot by David Shafer. I bought this because I teach high school, so I do have my moments where I can act like pretty much a average teenager, and we all know what WTF stands for. Anyway, this book had a brilliant idea. You have this cabal that is trying to take over the world by taking over all the information. And when I say all the information, I'm talking about recordings of phone calls through to, and other super personal stuff along those lines, like medical information, etc., through to your actual DNA. And it's up to some regular folks to try and stop them. Now, this book was highly recommended in 2014, and I think that was one of the problems, because I went into it with high expectations. The plot is brilliant. I had high expectations, and I was disappointed, because the characters were too well developed at the expense of the plot. I thought the plot was far more interesting than the people, well, considering what the plot was. I also expected the bad guys, considering everything, to be a little bit more threatening. But yeah, I found them a bit of a letdown because, I mean, they've got access to so much potential information, or they're getting access to all of this. I really expected them to have eyes everywhere, but they didn't. And then let's talk about the ending. Oh, wait. There was no ending. The book stops as it starts to get interesting. It stopped before the climax. Where's the rest of the book I paid for, folks? So that was rather disappointing. Slightly. I mean, it's all the trouble of reading that much. It could have had an ending. Anyway, somebody said that there was a movie of it and it was quite good. I might see if it's got an ending there. Not that that's the point of reading books. You're not supposed to need to go to the movie version. Anyway, other than that, I'm busy reading The Crimson Petal and the White, and I'm enjoying it. And yeah, next week is also going to be a busy week at work, as is the week thereafter. But after that, things should start slowing down again. So maybe you'll see me a bit more often. See me a bit more often after that. But for now, we are just going to call it quits before he flashes you. Bye.